So, can I say welcome to this meeting of the Buckinghamshire Council Planning Committee? And Clark, are there apologies for absence? We have apologies from Councillor Draper and Nancy Draper. Thank you. We accept those apologies. Item 2, declarations of interest. Does anybody wish to declare an interest? Councillor Stuchbury.
Chair, just in case I'm ever called into a planning application concerning Buckingham, which doesn't sound as easily possible, I must declare that I am a member of the planning committee. I'm sure they're pleased about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Stuchbury. Item 3, the minutes. The minutes of the planning committee held on the 19th of May 2025. Can we take these, I would say, as a correct record, but do you have a proposer for that? Martin, Councillor Try, and seconder. Councillor Davis. I think he's picked Tony, Councillor Allen to the post. All in favour? Thank you very much indeed. That's great. And now we move on to the meat of the meeting, and item 4, planning applications, with many thanks as ever to our planning clerk, Catherine McElligott. So we have 4 sorry, Councillor Harwood.
Yeah, I did have an interest here. You got someone here. We talked about this a little bit, so I will take a look.
Right, okay, thank you very much. So this is item 1, the flat 1 at 12 Bridge Street. Householder application for construction of an external staircase and door to the side elevation. Now, this is one that's been attempted before. We understand it's to enable the tenant who lives above to have sensible access to the property rather than coming through the barber shop, and that this proposal shows a side staircase which is then covered in with rendering, as opposed to previous applications. So what do members have some views, please, on this? Are we happy that this is a sensible way forward, or are there difficulties with it? Right, Councillor, I think Mrs. But there's a strong Buckingham Society flair at the table. You can fight over it.
We have no objections to this reintroduction of the staircase. I'm very pleased that we pointed out last time that there was very little information on its construction and its materials, and considering positioning, that was very important. But the planning officer agreed with that. So I'm very pleased to see them come back with a perfectly acceptable proposal.
Very much indeed. Are there any other comments on it? That's Liz.
I think, well, I'm sorry, I think Councillor Roger Neal was first in line.
Councillor Neal, do you want to speak?
Yeah, I'm just thinking it's a very simple thing that should be supported.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Davis.
I would agree with everything that the Buckingham Society has submitted, and Councillor Neal's statement on it. People need to get in and out of their properties
Safely and privately.
Yeah.
Without treading through John's hair.
Councillor Trump.
I've got a problem with it. I think it's a good idea for access to the upper flat, but I think I would have liked a little bit of lighting put in there, shown on there, because what I don't want to do is go and slap some up lighters there, or up and down lighters on the side, because I reckon that staircase will get a bit dark because it's facing around that way.
Yes.
It's facing north.
Won't get street lighting.
Well, no, because it's shadowed from the street lighting, so it could be quite dark as it's been covered in the whole side. But there you go. That's not necessarily a planning aspect, but
yes,
A safety aspect.
it's a safety aspect.
Councillor Davis.
Could we say that we have no objections, but we would be interested to find out if any lighting for the staircase for safety reasons is included.
We can do that.
It's a
No,
very
it's
sensible.
not that.
Yes.
That sounds a very good idea, as safety,
First.
yeah.
This is not big enough to ask the design advisor. But if possible.
Okay, so shall we, so the proposal is that we say that there are, which we'll vote on, which we say that there are no objections to this, but we regret that there's no lighting included and you know, considering the safety aspects of this. Is that okay, councillor Davies?
No, I think, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I'm guessing councillor Newell might be seconding that.
So, Chair, I'm very sorry. Councillor Newell can't be a former member of this committee because he needs to be appointed by the council. I'm sorry. Which will be the next week out. We will make sure that your options are on the agenda this evening.
You can, but you.
Absolutely, and can I have another seconder then, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, councillor Markey. All in favour? Thank you, Rashid, thank you.
Abstention.
An abstention, sorry, anyone against abstention, councillor Hart, thank you very much. Item 2 then, Manor Farmhouse, Morton Road. And there is there a single mobile caravan, which we understand is there for an elderly relative of their family, presumably, who will be, it enables them to have a little bit of independence while still being part of the family. Are there any particular views or thoughts on this as to whether? Let's go ahead, councillor Davies.
I'm not sure that the reasons for it being there are part of any sort of planning decision.
No.
Really, I'm like, it's there or it isn't there,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, good point, good point. It's just a part of the rationale for why it is there, but as you say, it's not a planned reason there. What do people think?
Yes, no. Don't have an issue with this at all.
No. No.
Didn't. It's not a full view of everyone, so.
Yes. So, we don't want to do any more debate on it, or shall we ask for a, thank you. Who would like to propose this? Oh, Andy, all right, councillor Mahoney, councillor O'Donoghue seconds it, all in favour? Anyone against? Vote. Any abstentions? No. Everyone put their hand up, so that's unanimous, yeah, that's.
I think we're getting confused on this because previously for ages the chair was proposing and the vice chair was seconding.
No, yours, you're called to aid at the
We'll
moment.
change that train.
So, my God. Right, so item 3, Old Market House, item 3 and item 4. So this is the restaurant that is now an Old Market House, which has put up, was keen obviously to put up some signs, has put up some signs, and the materials were really not in keeping with a Tudor building, and they are now talking about putting up signs which are more in keeping, so wood, which would go with the wood of the old building, and so I don't know, people, Lens, what do you think? Any comments looking at the Buckingham Society?
Yes, we can hear a comment. Firstly, not a Tudor building, built. But much later, it was older building underneath. But no, we really have no objection. We think they've tried very hard to look attractive. Yeah, really applauding for it. Yeah.
So, I'm just looking around the room, anybody else wants to comment? If not, can I have a proposer? Councillor O'Donoghue, seconder. Councillor Davies, all in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? No, I think everyone's hand went up, none of the abstentions.
So, Chair, all in favour of what? No objection?
No objection.
Okay.
Are you recording my excellent?
Yeah, yes, yeah, yes.
I just,
Take-
thank you, Greg.
Otherwise it'll be
Cheers.
literally, yeah. But thank you to councillor Harvey for reminding me of what correct wording. I don't know. So the purple floodlights are being mentioned, and for those of you that frequent the town at night time, whether there was any particular views you have on it, councillor Allen.
Personally, I think it makes that whole corner of the town quite attractive, and it's nice to see people of an evening sitting outside, having a drink and having a chat. So I think it's fine.
Thank you, councillor Try.
I think I may have raised this as an issue within the conservation area that they have external lighting floods, which, although look very pretty, I don't think we should allow.
But Catherine, I did indeed raise it, and we have an enforcement case open.
That's why I thought we weren't talking about it, because you've mentioned it like that, and it's an ongoing.
It was a signage occasion and no mention at all of these lights.
Oh, okay, so it's another matter. We quite like.
But it's still open, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So, moving on, this one that I think causes a little bit more thought, because it's an interesting variety of things that have been going on. So this is number 36 Chandos Road. And it's technically a variation of condition 4. So this is a house in multiple occupancy, where a certain number of kitchenettes have been put in, which tends to make it more like a flats. And what it looks like, and I was looking at this earlier on today, it looks like it's as a hybrid. So it's a largely flats, but it could be it'll still be a house in multiple occupancies. It's got 2 rooms that haven't got anything going. It's still got a common room. Councillor Harvey, your help on this would be much appreciated.
I think this falls into the you've got to be kidding category. Because it's just the same, then maybe a couple of words have been tweaked. This is just ridiculous, honestly. It is as if this is some sort of approach to kind of keep applying, but you say, oh yeah, go on then. No, absolutely not, no. We object.
Mrs. Cohen.
The Buckingham Society also objects, and I would echo Councillor Harvey's words. I mean, this is just trying things on, and frankly, it's a very good example, should be a very good example, where enforcement really matters. We know the inspector turned the thing down. They can't, in their description of the developments, even correct these 8 dwellings into 7. So
We noticed.
well, I think Catherine helped us notice. But we really object to this trying to get planning permission under the cover, as it were. And this is a good example for, quite apart from the lack of amenity of the poor people living in these units. The space is ridiculous.
Spaces.
The house would make perfectly good flats, 4, perhaps 5, but to make 7 out of it is just a heresy.
Greedy.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Heather.
Just, it took me a long time to get my head around this, and it was really helpful talking it through with Catherine earlier, because I thought they were trying for it to be made into 7 units, but they're not. It's already in 7 units, and they're applying for kitchenettes in 5 of the 7 units, which they believe would mean it still counts as an HMO, even though 5 out of the 7 were separate units. So it does certainly sound like they're trying it on, but I don't know what we can object to in that, in sort of planning terms, because they're not asking, can we make it into 7 things? That's already happened.
Yeah. Yes. Councillor Neal.
If they have what they call cold flats, they have so the basement bed sits, if you know, kitchenettes in them. So if you have 5 flats in 2 other rooms, then the 5 flats would require considerably more parking on site than they have. So you can also object on higher in the grounds. Okay, so can't. And it makes a difference whether it's a kitchenette, because there's still 1 person in that. Yeah, it's a flat. It's a bed sit, basically. So it's one unit accommodation as opposed to
an HMO, which is one. So you've got 5 separate units, so you need 5 parking spaces.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Mrs. Cumming.
I just wanted to say that it should be noted, this is a variation of a condition. The condition was put there in the first place, so to ensure the correct thing happened with the property. It is a nonsense to try and vary it, and I think we've seen 2 or 3 of these variations of conditions recently. And it is just trying to go by the back door, hoping nobody will notice, so it's not on.
Councillor Davies.
If I'm reading this correctly, this has come about because the inspector went in and discovered that they had already put these kitchenettes in.
Correct.
So they are in contravention of their permission already. And I think Councillor Try will agree with me that these retrospective type things ought to be come down on and in a very big way, because like we have discussed before, that there ought to be, for retrospective application, it ought to cost more.
Penalty.
There ought to be some sort of penalties in it. That's beyond the remit of us sat around this table now, but to be caught out and then have to submit retrospectively is not something that favours himself to me. I'm assuming it's a mayor.
Yes.
Then.
Yes. Right, okay, and is there, I mean, the only thing that I was discussing, thinking about earlier was the need for more housing for people who need smaller properties. Not everyone wants to live in an executive home. I just sort of wafted into the air as well as social housing for people like this. Is this not suitable in that way, or are we condemning people that would otherwise need this to not be able to get it? So, Councillor Davies.
In some ways, I would agree in principle, but that is not what they're doing here. They are not building flats. They are building bedsits. They are putting a sink and a baby belling or whatever into what has been allowed because of the space as a room in a multiple occupancy property. We need to be building more flats for single occupancy. We need to have proper homes for people and not just converting all these houses into cupboards, basically.
Thank you very much indeed.
Can we call this in?
This way.
Well, we can have girls, and I really don't find that much over. How many we've had? Well, it's nearly 5 years now, but we've only had one in those 5 years.
I don't know, let's try.
Yes, but that was for 300 houses on what was designated employment land. Now there's a case that one.
Yes,
I want to speak on the application, but the constitution of Buckinghamshire Council has changed under the new council. So the constitution, according to planning, has changed. Members may wish to read the new constitution. It may be something that you consider when making.
What enlightenment from?
Yeah, well, my memory is constitutional, Chair, so they are very interesting bits of paper. Is that originally you had to have, it was 3 members in the ward. We haven't got 3 members. We've got 3 members in the ward. So I believe that the constitution isn't totally reliant on all 3 members being in agreement, and there are, if I recall if I read it a while ago, you can ask members who are not related make up the other ones, because there's a rules round which it is. So
it has to be an adjacent ward.
Adjacent ward. So because sometimes they have an interest in it anyway.
Yeah.
So it does. where before we had a
Councillor
situation,
Harvey's, okay.
we had a situation where nothing was called in, it was always stopped. But we changed the constitution in the previous council to allow the parish town councils to have the right to call in, and you still have the right to call
Thank you
in.
very much indeed, yeah. I'm just trying to work out whether that, I mean, we're just going to come down, or we're just going to likely come to a conclusion on this, which is very straightforward. So whether added political member to support me next round, I wait to see. Now, first of all, councillor Harvey.
Well, I mean, I think it's an important issue that councillor Thursbury raised. So, I mean, I appreciate you to make a decision on this PDQ, but I would propose, after we've done that, I propose that we ask the clerk to prepare a short report for us for the next planning committee on just what the constitution now says.
Yes.
And what the implications are for us.
Yeah.
Whether things in or not. I think we need.
Yeah, we need to know what the new rules are.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very helpful. Councillor Thursbury raised
The
it.
rules don't change for the parish, it's changed for the Buckinghamshire Council.
I know that.
Yes, yeah, no,
So I'm proposing that we get a report that tells us what the rules are now, within which we have.
Yes, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Shall we just get back to this?
I'd like to second councillor Mahi's suggestion to call it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can, yes.
Can we ask councillor Sturchbury to do so?
Yes.
Yeah.
And councillor Haydock.
I've wanted to explore the pros and cons of calling it in. Is it one of those things where you have to pick your battles and you call in the ones you really, really want to call in? Or do we just pile in the call-ins and then hope that some of them fly? I just don't know how it works.
Yes, yeah, I'm interested in councillor Markey on that one in a minute. Councillor Try.
I think this is important to put our weight behind this. Buckingham Town Council is in favour of small, cheap dwellings or sub-dwelling of a particular building. But this has gone far beyond that.
Yeah.
And what we do not want is a trend to start creeping in. So that's why it's so important that not only are the inspectors found it, but we certainly disagree with that sort of practice.
Yeah.
Because it's not safe for those people in there, and therefore it's not safe for our residents.
Yeah.
Even though it may be affordable for them, but that doesn't mean that it's the right way of going. So that's why we should put whatever weight we can and are able to these days behind this sort of almost simplistic planning application or deviation from their
Changing.
well, it wasn't planning, it was not governance, it was criteria that they had placed on it. It wasn't their planning application, was it? It was a condition put on it. So, you know, we're already going down the slippery slope of doing a condition.
Councillor Markey, you're calling it in because you think that as it goes further up the chain, it won't get.
They keep changing to little tweaks here and there to try and get it through, and that's what we get, because if we let this one go through, everybody else would want that.
Yes.
We need to set a precedent.
Yeah. Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I support the proposal that we object and we ask for a call in.
Yeah.
I think we also need to put a rider on that, building on what Councillor Fries has said about saying that we need the fire service should do an inspection of this property for, you know, whether they're compliant with fire regulations. HMOs must have those sort of things in place. And I think a fire needs to go in there, have a good route around.
Yes. Yeah, thank you actually. Councillor Sturchbury.
Have to declare an interest then, because I'm in charge of. No, I am on the fire authority.
He's health and safety on the
I'm
fire.
health and safety on the fire authority, so I may have to declare an interest. John.
So do I think we've got to the stage now where we are all in violent agreement on this one, that we object to this, oppose this variation. Do we oppose it or do we reject it? I'm sure. Do we oppose this variation
To take a what?
or whatever it says. In all its elements, and that we are particularly concerned about the health and safety of our residents. While we're not against having accommodation for single unit accommodation, in fact, we're very keen on it. We believe that this way of going about it should be stopped before it gets started.
Are we going to include the, as Councillor Harvey said, include the fire authority as well?
I think I was just about, I didn't say I meant to begin to say, I've got it written down here, plus the fire service, so there should be an inspection. We should bring it to the attention of the fire service.
Yeah.
Yes, and that given the gravity and the possibility of a trend, we would like to have it called in.
Yeah.
Feel good about that?
So, all good.
Was there a parking issue there as well? Because some are HMOs and some are
Yeah, what you said.
blackish, so we need to put that in because it widens the scope.
Yeah.
Okay, plus parking, Carolyn, sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't think parking will count in this instance, because they will say it's town centre.
Yeah, true.
It's close to the town centre, and they have relaxed the rules on one car
Yes.
per household on.
Yeah,
When it's close to town centre.
so the fire service stays in, but parking.
I think they've said that after so many bedrooms, it doesn't count anyway, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Right, all in favour of that strongly voiced opposition?
Nobody.
Anyone against? Maybe not be against, and any abstentions? That's the such way. Well, thank you all very much indeed. Thank you for getting your heads around that particular one, because it was a.
Might I just check, Catherine, are you happy with what's been agreed then?
Sorry, glad. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, can I have, I know Captain Hall will, just have a copy of the, grounds, so that I can, make sure that I don't contradict the intentions of the
Yes.
council.
Yes, it'll be published.
Going forward and not contradict.
Yes, I can enjoy working. Yes, councillor.
Can I go back to my proposal?
Yes.
Which is that we ask the town clerk, whatever, to produce a short report that was about the implications of the Buckinghamshire Council.
So you're proposing that,
I'm supposing that, yeah.
and Lisa's seconding it. Are we all in favour of that? All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. I thought that'd be an interesting discussion, and it's such an important one because we need housing for single occupancy, but we need it to be safe and right.
Yeah.
Appropriate. We can't, you know,
Not exploited.
it's not exploitative. Thank you very much indeed. Moving on now, we go to the trees, so a little bit of fresh air. And work to trees, this is for information only, as you've already seen these and commented on them as they went. So, one at Trolley Hall, number 6. We want at Hamilton House. The cypress trees, number 7. So that's just for you to note. And then number 8. Gosh, it's exciting, but it's important. Oak tree, yew tree, and Lawson's cypress tree. I've got 2 hands up. I'm sorry, I didn't see who came up first.
This is no go.
I was going to say, I suppose we note all of these,
Yes.
these changes.
And you second that?
No, I'm going to say, it's good to see they're doing work on trees. I was going to ask if the district or the town council have a tree management plan. As stated in the Hamilton House one, you know, reason for work is to get the trees back to a manageable height and size and then be easy to maintain.
Yeah.
We all know that if you let the trees grow out of proportion, they will then cause problem either by water sucking away from the ground and causing issues in the ground, or the canopy overhanging other areas. Where if that nice tree was to have had a haircut every now and again, it would stay as a really nice tree and not annoy anybody. And I think it's more important these days because they get to a stage where you can't do work to them and then they have to come down and then we lose a tree. So I think we ought to look in sometime to whether the district has one or whether we have one.
Right, okay, so tree management. I'm just going to go back to councillor Harvey, because I thought we were.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point from Councillor Trider, because these trees fall within the conservation area, then to actually do any work on them requires permission every single time you do it. So maybe is there a facility whereby, in a sense, they can apply for a tree management season ticket? which they can just use when they need to use it, rather than to go into the rigmarole of doing it each time they need to bring it.
Okay. Say rigmarole, I've written down here.
In theory, tree management plans in town, like the old ABDC ones for Holloway, Spinney and Maysmore Avenue, places like that. I don't know of any other management plans that can look as a solid thing. For doing any work necessarily to.
So there are a lack of tree management plans around. Is this on tree management?
What's this on tree
Yes.
management? I believe this comes under the Environment Committee, does it not?
Oh,
The management of our trees will certainly
Yeah.
come under, and we do have plans and work patterns and inspections of our fields to manage our trees. I am not aware that there is an option to block book.
No, probably not.
No.
I thought it sounded really neat.
And
What about
on that as well, Stowe have to apply every time they want to do any work on any of their trees. Every time I put Dadford into the
Yeah.
search engine, there's a huge great long list of
Yes,
tree works at Stowe.
good thing too. Roger, what can you say something?
No, I was, funny enough. You take the words out of what you need to have a tree management plan to stone.
Yeah,
Because it saves a lot of time, but they've obviously run out. But
Yeah.
they can apply for one, like Hamilton House, they've got a lot of trees and you can agree with the council. Well, yeah, if anybody can do it, if you've got a lot of trees, then you can actually ask for a tree management plan, so provided that you
Do regular work.
you guys, it was like, background, he's going to do it for you. Then you can do it.
okay, so I think we're in general agreement with the point that it would be good to encourage private owners or management companies of properties, particularly in an central town, to have tree management plans. But I'm not sure whether this committee can say anything on that subject, or I'm looking at the clerk at this point. It sounds so sensible.
I'll write to the environment chairman.
Chairperson. Chair.
Yes.
That is only our trees, that's
Yeah.
not other people's trees,
That's what
that's our trees.
Yeah. So I think this is a healthy and sensible discussion about tree management plans. And if you're out and about and talking to other organisations, we should.
Communication group.
Somebody our communications, our trees.
True.
Yes, talk to the trees, yeah. I need the king to come to business for that. Oh, no, he's not coming. Right, so I'm moving on. Is there anything else we need to decide on that? We just need to note those trees, and you know, can still sway happily. Planning decisions. To receive for information details of planning decisions made by Buckinghamshire Council. Some were approved, which was one we opposed and they approved it anyway. And we opposed and that's withdrawn and nosy away, and 2 more not for consultation. So I'm not planning to have a big discussion with this, but Councillor Stutchbury,
Yeah, just.
you can have a moment.
Yeah, I had a moment when I was born and I'll carry on having. Those days.
What's your point?
Well, I just wanted to ask for you is, it says 24 stroke 019278 been withdrawn. There has been a 24 01965 D.
That's for the housing.
Yeah, and there's also a 19 stroke 00148 AOP.
It's the outline permission from, that's the very beginning, before they even start to do the detailed
Yeah,
stuff and the design.
What I'm unclear, because I haven't seen it here listening, is whether you have the it's the phasing of it and the outline detailed planning.
We have the detailed plans. We've had phase 1, which is now building out. We've had phase 2 and phase 3, which is 1965 and 1966. We haven't had the phase 4 yet because those are the custom builds and they haven't put in the application yet.
And it said in everyone you opposed, didn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
mainly on the ends of drainage.
Yeah, which it brings me back to the point. I am thinking that this is an issue that we do generally have as a committee, we're all aware of decisions outside our control, which remains Morton and this committee. And I think that maybe it's something we do need to start to real focus on. You will have all read the information which was provided to us. I think we were consulted on it about the lack of provision for sewage, and I think these things need to be aired and maybe aware of these things, because everything's going into the same place. So, and if the sewage and drainage fails, it can only end up in one of our rivers. So
Yeah.
we need to track and focus on. Well, I was asking for clarity through Catherine, because I see a lot of numbers, and I'll be honest with you, Chair, that they gather me.
Catherine, want to comment on this briefly? Yes, we're looking at these particular ones tonight, but
We don't have the reasons for the withdrawal. Now, it could be that they have looked at the sewage possibilities and decided that they need to do something different. And so they've withdrawn that one so that their officers don't have to bother about it temporary. And they're going to put a different scheme in. Possibly involving an enormous cesspit, who knows? But I mean, if they haven't got angling water assets up there, they're going to have to negotiate with people who own the land in between them and the river.
okay.
And so they may well have to do a complete rethink. Doing
Yes. Made by the sewage.
There is some historical concerns around this, because those of us who had since 2007 dealt with the Lace Hill site, I think we can talk about it safely now, but it isn't a planning issue now, that part of that site was constructed and there was no sewage works in place, and we waited till a moral amount of time to the sewage was connected to sewage. So there is a huge issue with this.
Yeah, we know.
And I'm just saying that, not commenting on it, I am, as you can imagine, questioning these things, but I think that's the need to do. But I also think that it's something that maybe a long, hard look at the future would be a good point for the town council to debate on what's happening.
I was presuming this is part of the Buckingham Neighbourhood Development Plan, about sort of infrastructure. I mean, Roger met councillor, and you'll mention it in his preparation, that that's something that we will have to consider. But at the moment, we're just looking at these particular ones, but absolutely what you're saying, it's absolutely important we get the infrastructure right. We can't have we're having lorries at the moment, but if there's a deluge of housing where we don't want a deluge of sewage. So, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, just 2 points. One, just speaking of what Rob was saying there, I think maybe they'll pump it over to Gorkop instead, perhaps. I don't know. It could be a long pipe, but I wouldn't really put it past them. But then the serious point I want to make is that the application that the Shire Council approved, which is the one we opposed, is of course, I remember that discussion, we feared that is going to be another HMO maintenance.
Yes.
So it seems as if, I guess they thought there was no planning reason why they could say no to it, but we know where it's going to go.
And perhaps our earlier decision was absolutely right. Okay, thank you very much indeed, councillors. So then we've got lot of consultation, Mates and Morton. Crown reduced trees, and Rogers Lane moving a garden wall. So I think I'm safely moving on to item 5.2. And we're noting.
Yes,
You've noted. Thank you very much indeed. And action reports, yes. Is anything that anyone want to comment on the regular actions update? Anyone, Catherine, would like to bring to our attention of this item at all? No, just no.
We just asked them the responsibility.
Yes. Definitely, thank you, and prove that very much indeed. So the regular actions have been dealt with. And item 7, chairs announcements. And think, I mean, all I say is really to sort of build a liberal art councillor statutory was saying that in terms of what is coming to one, councillor Muir as well, what is coming towards us in terms of planning, and there is a consultation on its way about how planning will be done in the future, with the aim, obviously, of speeding up the planning process. And I understand it doesn't yet mention parishes, we're not yet on the radar, but we will want to be very much involved in that and make sure we are on the radar. And I think to bring out the fact of what I've heard at tonight's discussions, the fact that local knowledge is absolutely key. So as the grassroots upward voice still needs to be heard, not in an obstructive way, but actually in a facilitative way, to make sure that we do get the street scene and the housing that people in Buckingham want and need. So that's my preparation. How's the stuff?
Just to mention that in the training we've had this cycle, to give you heart, the officers are singing the importance of local neighbourhood plans. And they're thinking the importance of it because we realise that the Vale plan comes off completely historic from the Buckinghamshire plan to come. And I think we all know along the other plan to so I think the importance of the neighbourhood.
The parish council wanting to get money to do what we've done,
Yes.
that money has now dried up.
Oh,
So the provisions are still there in law, but they can still carry weight with own decisions.
gosh.
But the government has decided to cut back on the funding of it.
Yeah, thank you, councillor Davies.
It was something that was brought in 2010, 2011, as part of the big society thing, so it's not really surprising that a government of a different colour is going back on decisions made by these governments.
Nice point made there, councillor Davies. And I just think that we've just been discussing the importance of local input, so I'm not quite sure how it all sets together, but I'm just going to probably bring this meeting to an end. We've had quite a few comments this evening, which will be very valid, but I just think that I'm sensing people wrapping up their computers. I'm going to go, if I may, because this is my prerogative, onto item 8. If Robin's got something to comment on that, I'll be amazed, but the date of the next meeting. I'm not very well, but Monday the 1st.
Marvellous day. If you're like me, make a comment. I hope you'll be there.
I could be just like.
And I'll be pleased to see you there.
I could be just. So this
lovely.
is I will go on Friday, so
I
I
hope
think
it's still Canada when you leave it.
Yeah. Robin, if you do that, I want to page on that